I didn't quite look the way I thought I would. I was training so much and I was like, I feel like I should look fitter than I did. So
I feel like you had something to prove to yourself. Wouldn't it be such a shame to go through life not knowing how far you can take something, or what you can do, how dark or how deep you can dig? What's the biggest myth you want women to stop believing about being healthy? Welcome back to the Stronger with Scarlett podcast. Here we have episode 5, and today's main theme is aesthetics versus performance and overall health and vitality. Before I dive into any more, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Literally costs you nothing and it'll take you 2 seconds, but it really is priceless to me, and it really helps me grow all of my areas of my business and spread all of these really important conversations and messages as far as possible so that lots of people can hear them. So today I'm being joined by a guest, Olivia DUVAL. We actually only met, I think, a month ago, perhaps. And Olivia is somebody that I just clicked with immediately. In a room full of people, it was
just like drawn to each other.
Weren't we? You and I, we just couldn't stop nattering each other's ears off. And I think it's really obvious why, because you have pushed your body to an extreme, just like I have, competing in an Ironman, which I need to check my notes, is a 2.4 mile swim. Sea swim as well, to make it even harder. 112-mile bike ride.
Exactly.
Followed by a marathon, which is 26 miles. I mean, that's really extreme, isn't it? And then obviously you've got myself, who is a world champion strength athlete who broke a deadlift world record at 277.5 kilos. That's 612.5 pounds. So we've both come from a background of pushing our bodies to a physical performance limit with different aims, goals, expectations of reasons why we were doing this. And we're going to dive into that a little bit more detail. So one thing we discovered is that pushing our bodies to this extreme didn't necessarily give us the aesthetic that perhaps we desired when we entered into the task at hand. So I'm really happy you're here anyway, Olivia. And it's worth noting that Olivia is now also a strength coach, online
fitness online coach.
For women only, or
women?
Women only.
Yes, I work with women only.
Okay. Interesting. So we also share our profession, which is really nice because we get to talk about lots of things like this. And Olivia, you also recently read my book.
I did. It was amazing. Goosebumps. It was incredible.
Thank you. So my book, Brave Enough to Begin Again, is available. The link is in the description below. Right, let's get stuck in. So I'm going to ask you straight out with the first question. Let's start with talking about your Ironman journey, because I think that was 10 years ago.
Yeah. 9. Started it 10 years ago, and then I did it in the 2016.
Okay. And this then is kind of the main driver of where you are now and what you do now.
Yeah.
So when you look back at the 6 months it took you to prepare for the Ironman, which, by the way, the fact that you prepared in 6 months, I think, is mind-blowing.
Or silly.
Mind-blowing / silly. Maybe it was too much of a short period of time. Potentially. What did the process teach you about yourself? So I don't mean athletically. I mean, what did it teach you about you as a person?
Okay, so it was a long time ago now, and I decided to do it. I wasn't a health and fitness coach then. I was working in an office. I'd always loved sports and fitness, though, kind of growing up at university, and then decided to do one. And I'd not really done triathlon before either. I'd not done sprints or Olympic distances. I kind of threw myself in at the deep end with the longer version of one. And it was obviously really intense. I've said this to you before. Grueling hours. I think I was training 12 to 15 hours a week. After work, before I went to the office, after the office, the weekends were very busy with long runs because I had more time and the long cycles, and it shaped my life, I suppose, for those 6 months. And it was kind of during that time that I was like, I love fitness. It made me realize that I love fitness even more than I did. It kind of was the step just before I then became qualified as a PT. But it was also really exhausting. I mean, I was tired all the time. I was hungry all the time. And I did the Ironman after the 6 months. And at the end of it, I was sort of like, I suppose I I didn't quite look the way I thought I would. I was training so much and I was like, I feel like I should look fitter than I did. That was kind of the thing that...
Did you enter into the process to change your physique? Was that kind of like one of the main drivers in you wanting to do this?
No. So it was in the back of my mind though. So I wanted the challenge. I wanted to be an Ironman, but in the back of my mind, kind of secretly, as I think, a lot of people do think, if I'm going to do this class, or if I'm going to enter this event, or if I'm going to start weight training in the gym, something's going to happen physically. And mine did, but I actually gained quite a lot of weight during the process. And so that's what I mean. I look at the pictures when I finished the Ironman and sort of like, I really don't look as I thought I would. But nevertheless, I really don't want to detract from, I'm so proud of myself that I did it.
Huge achievement. Yeah, huge achievement. Let's just take a minute.
But yeah, that was sort of at the back of my mind. And that's kind of where my life really did change, because after that, that's when I became a personal trainer. And I learned more about body composition. I learned more about the nutrition side of things and how important that is. And finding the type of training for me that actually works for me.
Yeah, that's nice.
And doesn't leave me shattered. And I'm not knocking, by the way, big thing, I have to say this. I'm not knocking anybody that enjoys long distance events or Ironmans or triathlons or anything like that. That's amazing. I just, maybe it wasn't for me, maybe it isn't for me. Maybe it wasn't for me at the time.
Or like you said, maybe you tried to do it in too much of a short period of time, that it was too intense.
Yes. Maybe I didn't have enough knowledge though. Also there with
interesting
to sort of
support you.
Yeah. The nutrition side of things.
Perhaps if you were to do it again now.
Yep. Yeah.
It would be a completely different process.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I would though. But I've thought that.
I bet you have, yeah. So do you think you changed as a person? Like, did you learn anything about your character, your levels of resilience? Like, were you surprised at how hard you could push yourself, or how far you could take your mind? Like, personally for me, to get myself into that zone of training, it's a different personality. It's like, I am who I am, bubbly, kind, sweet. People meet me and they're like, you're nothing like the girl that we see on Instagram. You look so intimidating and so scary and so huge. But I'm not. I'm this tiny little thing.
Yeah.
Cute little primary school teacher in me, fun, bouncy girl. So I had to learn about where to take my mind. I had to learn a lot about myself, about my resilience, I had to really dig into my why. Why am I doing this? What did you learn about yourself?
I think it definitely showed me that I am stronger than I realised. And I was thinking about this on the way here. I remember when I was doing the event. So I did the event in South Wales, Tenby. My dad is Welsh. Shout out. And so we did it in his hometown. And so a lot of my family were there. All of my friends came to watch and support. And I remember running on the marathon bit when I was really struggling, and Dad ran with me for a bit, kind of alongside me in the audience bit, supporter stand, whatever. And he kind of said, "Can you do this?" Like he was like, "Are you sure you're okay?" kind of thing. And I remember thinking, I was tired and I was fed up, but I was like, I'm going to do it. So, I remember that now, and I think, gosh, I really was like adamant that I was going to get through it. And I think that I am really proud of it. I know I talk about the aesthetics and that sort of stuff, but I am really proud of myself. I do talk about it a lot. So
I feel like you had something to prove to yourself.
Maybe. Because I was so passionate about fitness, and at the back of my mind, I think I wanted this change in career.
Yeah.
Desperately. And I was like, maybe that's a really good question. I've never really thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But maybe deep down I was like, I have to do this, because if I want to be into fitness, I have to kind of have this.
Have a bit of clout behind your name.
Yeah.
I mean, and honestly, it's something that I used to think years ago when I first started also in the industry, because I came as a primary school teacher into the fitness industry. And I remember thinking, you need to have a little bit of something to back up what you do and what you say. I didn't feel like that all the way through my journey. And my last competition this year and my competitions last year, I didn't enter them thinking I had anything to prove to the outside world. However, I definitely feel like I was trying to prove something to myself. It was deeper than that. It was not, I didn't care what Fred down the road thought or Susie on Instagram thought. It was like, I had to show myself what I was really capable of. And I think breaking that world record for me was like, holy crap, I did that.
Yeah.
I did something that nobody else in the world did, hence why it's like a world record. It was mind-blowing what you can achieve when you really, really dedicate yourself to it.
Yeah.
But is it worth it? Is the cost of it worth it?
Yeah.
So the cost of, you talk about your aesthetics, you gained some weight.
Yeah.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah, sort of halfway through the process, 3 months in, I was realized I just, I should feel fitter. I should feel with more energy. And I know, maybe it's a similar vibe, right? And that was kind of confusing. I was like, and that kind of also would maybe touch on this, but all changed when I got properly into weight training, when I became a PT and I understood more like my energy's like day and night difference.
So I think that's when you take things to an extreme.
Yeah.
I think if you are into running and you go for a gentle jog a couple of times a week, you're not going to have this extreme thing we're talking about. I took mine to the absolute nth degree. You took yours to the nth degree in quite a short amount of time as well. And this didn't just have an impact on your physical aesthetics. It had an impact on your internal hormonal systems, endocrine system, your menstrual cycle, your hunger cues, your sleep-wake cycle. Literally every internal function was struggling. And so we always see things on Instagram that say growth happens outside of your comfort zone and you have to get used to being uncomfortable. We were just talking off the mic about how I'm so resilient, but perhaps I'm resilient in some circumstances to at a detriment to my own better self. And so being in discomfort, and I'm so good at being uncomfortable, and I can be uncomfortable for so much longer than other people, but that being out of your comfort zone, there's a fine line before that becomes dangerous. I don't mean dangerous like to your life, but it becomes dangerous to your health and your long-term vitality and every internal system. And so we're going to continue talking about how you took your discomfort so far that it didn't only impact you aesthetically, but it impacted you internally. And kind of what happened next. You finished the Ironman. Did you have that moment of euphoria, achievement, pride, and then now what?
Yeah.
That emptiness, that like your whole life, like you said, has been shaped around training for this Ironman, and now it's over.
Yeah.
It, like in my sport, we call it post-competition blues. Like it's a real thing. Yeah. What did you do?
Well, that's when I was, again, had a different job working in an office, and I, on the side, did my PT qualification at weekends. And so I did kind of throw myself into something else. That was kind of the catalyst there. But so I got my PT cert, and then I went to work for a gym and then another gym. And at this second gym, I'd been on the pill, by the way, talking about the hormones. I'd been on the pill the whole time I was doing the Ironman. I'd been on it for 10 years, from the age of 17 to 27.
Did you have periods on the pill?
Yes.
Okay.
I had that week break.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And
I only ask because some people use the pill as a period blocker. This is not medical advice. I actually personally don't think that's a wise idea at all. But people in my sport tend to not take that week break.
Yeah.
They continue the pill to not have a bleed and to not have the symptoms of a period, so it doesn't impact their performance in training, which FYI I think is absolutely, utterly the most ridiculous thing on the planet. But anyway.
So I know a lot of people take the pill because of like skin, or they're struggling with their periods, pain, excessive bleeding. And they tend to start, well, a lot of the people that I speak to tend to start the period in their kind of like teens, late teens, whatever. I took it, not really for any of those reasons. I had bad skin, actually. That's a fair
Yeah, I've
point.
heard this one before, yeah.
Yeah. And then when I came off the pill, when I was working, this is after I got my PT and I was working for the gym, I came off the pill, and I actually did have a shift where I felt like, a weight had been lifted somehow. I don't really know how to explain it other than that. I didn't struggle with my mental health, but I did feel different. And interestingly, though, my skin got so bad for like 6 months to a year. I had spots on my chest. It's post-birth control syndrome. Seems to be something that I've read about. So all of the things that maybe you were masking with the pill then suddenly reappear.
Yeah.
And because I'd gone on the pill at 17, I hadn't really had a consistent cycle for very long. I started my periods really late. So when I was 27, I then started to experience what it's like to have a regular period.
A natural bleed, not a synthetically induced bleed.
Exactly. And so it was during that time that was sort of the game change for me, because I was like, I'm not getting a natural bleed. It's very sporadic, but it also ties into something that I wanted to speak about today, because I was dieting and training for a photo shoot that I had to do at this gym. So it required getting to not bodybuilding levels of lean, but lean for me. And
an unnatural level of lean.
I was hungry and I was living off a lot of coffee. And you know, I had to push myself. It's sort of like, I don't care, I'm doing it. I want to do this, and, you know, I'll go through it. So,
because it's kind of cool as well, right? Like, these things are cool. They're a big achievement. And
exactly.
It's nice to, I always say also, like, wouldn't it be such a shame to go through life not knowing how far you can take something, or what you can do, how dark or how deep you can dig, and how, like, I think it is a cool achievement.
Throw yourself into something new, do something you've never done before. Similar mentality probably to the Ironman.
Yeah,
you've done. But through that process, I realised I'm not getting my period as regularly as I probably should. I didn't know when I would expect it. I didn't know the signs and symptoms of maybe that I now track, and I just didn't really have a period basically for months. And it's only after that photo shoot, which I did, and I got to like the low levels of lean that I wanted to achieve, that I was like, okay, I'm going to really focus now. And it's been a long process. It's been since that photo shoot I've really been discovering how my body works.
When was that? How many years ago?
That was in 2019.
Okay.
So I did the Ironman 2016 and then the photo shoot in 2019.
And when did you come off the pill?
In 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So for that year of like preparing for that photo shoot and working in a new job in a new gym that was very demanding, I didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
It was only when I sort of educated myself after that I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep trying to diet. I can't keep trying to lose weight all the time, because I think I'm sensitive to stress in some way, whether that be dieting stress or overtraining stress or
emotional.
It can be lots of things. I can travel and my periods go out of sync. So I realize I'm really sensitive. Some women can compete, get super low levels of lean and have no issues with their hormones, their cycles. They can still get their period. But I've kind of realized, and I'm so confident in saying this now, I'm not one of them.
Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. I was like that. When I did bodybuilding, had to get to a super lean level of body fat percentage. And like you said, this took you a year to prepare for the photo shoot. So you spent a year preparing for that, but only 6 months for the Ironman. I think that's an interesting difference.
It was like 6 months. Sorry, it was 6 months for the photo shoot, but kind of like a year afterwards where I was like, I really want to stay lean.
Yeah.
Not getting my period. So it was a year where I was like,
yeah. So I did bodybuilding for probably 3 years, and I tried to stay.
How many competitions did you do?
1, 2 abroad, 3 here. And a couple of photo shoots in that as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was trying to be as lean as possible all the time. But this was off the back of my journey started. I lost 30 kilos of weight. So I was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome. Again, not knowing about my cycle, not knowing about my hormones. I had an implant contraception. I had that removed. I got into Muay Thai, MMA. It was very cardio based, not strength training. Did a bit of that, lost 30 kilos. That is a whole another episode and a whole story on its own. And then I got into strength training and the bodybuilding side of things. So coming off the back of a huge weight loss that took about 18 to 24 months. I can't really remember right now. Then I went into 3 years of, so this is dieting. start bodybuilding, dieting. So it was like I was diagnosed with PCOS, wasn't having periods regularly, all this stuff, got the implant out. About halfway on the downward curve of losing the weight, I was probably quite healthy. Having regular periods, felt really good, was performing well at work. Then I just carried on going and took it to this point where my body couldn't cope. I stopped having my periods, but you want to stay lean. Yeah. So we talk about the aesthetics, but that links into the mental health and the body dysmorphia, which is a real problem. Yeah. And I don't just think it's a problem with women. I think male bodybuilders have this as well. Not all, but I also think not just bodybuilders. As somebody who's gone through a weight loss journey, the weight loss journey, as hard as they are, I've been there, done it, they're actually the easier part. Yeah. The harder part is keeping it off.
Bang on, yeah.
Not falling back into your old habits, not taking it to another extreme and another thing and another competition and another photo shoot and overdoing it. And then looking in the mirror and watching your body change when you do start to put on a little bit more weight and your body starts to change, and accepting that. Oh, it's such a process, isn't it?
I completely agree, because I think when you hit those low levels of lean, you're sort of like, well, for me at the time, everyone was like, it was in the gym, lots of guys there that had done photo shoots before, very much into the whole bodybuilding scene. They were like, just careful on the rebound. You don't want to gain loads of weight. You know, you're going to eat loads. You're going to be super hungry afterwards. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't really know how to handle this next thing. And you're right, the dysmorphia, and realizing, I suppose, over the last, since then, 6 years now, that I'm actually okay if I'm not those low levels of lean. I feel better. Mental health too, rather than obsessing, I suppose, every year or every however many months you want to do a photo shoot. It's great. Another challenge. Awesome if you want to do it. But for me, I think it's too consuming. It doesn't make me the happiest person that I can be. So
that's a really interesting point. I love that. And ultimately, we do these things because maybe we're searching for happiness, or we're searching for purpose, or we're searching for something within ourselves. And actually, after doing them and finding some kind of level of balance, and I say balance like this because I don't think we ever find balance as a finite thing. No. I think we're always trying to figure out balance. You just about think you've got it, and then routine changes, or you change jobs or careers, or you have a baby, or something changes, and that whole balance rejigs again.
Absolutely.
So it's really hard to find that sweet spot. But I love that you've said you found that point where you are happier, performing well, sleeping well, and understanding your body.
Sleeping well is such a point too. Yeah. And with, like you mentioned there about having the implant, I had that too. I had it for 6 months, had it taken out. Copper coil, had that taken out too. Oof. Painful. And yeah, I think you kind of saying it there, like trying different things. Like I realize now I'm in a pretty good place, but like over the last 6 years, 7, 8 years, however long, I've tried so many different things, and I think that is also important because I know now what works for me and what doesn't work for me. I've learned so much that we can help so many other women too with what we do. I totally understand how it works when you're on the implant or the pill or the copper coil, things like that, the ring. So it does.
And so it's shaped the coach that you are today.
Absolutely.
And what I really like is that you've said you don't disencourage people to do an Ironman, or you don't disencourage people to do a photo shoot. I would never disencourage anybody from wanting to do a strongman competition, an MMA fight, or a Muay Thai fight. I think the challenge of an athletic target and performance is so good. I potentially would disencourage a client of mine or a friend of mine from doing a bodybuilding show, but nothing else. And the only reason I say that, and this is from my own personal experience, so other people out there might have a very different opinion, and that's okay. But from my own experience, bodybuilding is all about what you look like. The judging is very subjective. They don't have a picture of the perfect athlete. So
it's dependent on the judges then.
It's dependent on the judges. It's extremely subjective. So there's 5 of you on the stage. This judge might think you look the best. This judge might think she looks the best. And this judge might think they look the best. Somebody might have slid somebody some money somewhere. Somebody might have been sponsored by somebody who's sponsoring the competition somewhere. I mean, if you really look into it, it's It's an interesting one. Whereas competing for performance, an Ironman, who are you actually against in an Ironman? Yourself. Okay, there might be 500 people competing in that one Ironman, but you're competing against the times that you've had in training, against your own mindset, against your own resilience, against your own inner demons. When your dad says, can you actually do this? You're actually effing can. You know, like, that's who you're competing against. When you do, an MMA match, obviously you're competing against somebody. I recently took up rugby. When you're out on the rugby pitch, you're competing against an opponent. I get that. When you're doing a strongman show, it was always, for me, this is how many reps I got in training. I want to match or beat that in my competition. This is a weight that I lifted in training. I want to match or beat that in my next competition. So it was always about yourself and your own targets. And if you focus on those performance numbers, you will gradually get stronger and better and fitter, you know, and healthier. And it's about having that structured out in a longer term plan, not trying to go from 0 to hero in like no time at all, with no knowledge and no support and no guidance. Which is what you're saying your whole journey has shaped now how you coach, who you coach, and the kind of advice you give. So what is that? What is your message to women? If you could give one message from this podcast about nutrition, menstruation, strength training, performance, aesthetics.
You sort of prepared me for that question earlier, and I was thinking about it because I think from my story there, I've tried different things, and I work with women that are maybe interested in the gym, but not really, you know, had the nerve to kind of go themselves, that want to get into weight training, that want, you know, to improve their health, fitness, physique too comes into that. And the way that I suppose from my experience, I've tried different things, and I think, you know, weight training might not be the thing for you, but, you know, you can try it, or you might try a different class, or you might try strength, you know, type of training that you do. You've got to try to kind of know what works for you, what works for your lifestyle, what, you know, for me, what helps manage my hunger well so that I can, you know, feel good, helps manage my energy. And I've done so many different things, but this is weight training, but by no means am I like extreme and in the gym X number of days a week. I train 3 times a week in the gym. I do 1 to 2 runs a week. And that is great for me and my workload and my lifestyle at the minute. But I've tried different things. So that's maybe my message to, you know, try something new, see if you like it, see if it works for you, see if it works for your hormones.
Don't be afraid to try. Yeah, I think the message is don't be scared to try something new. I think you're never too old to try something new.
Love that.
And don't be fearful of turning up. I had never, ever played rugby before. So cool. Never played a team sport. I've never touched a ball sport. And 3 months ago, I turned up to the rugby pitch like, hey, girls.
And you took to it like,
I'm here to learn. I mean, a duck to water. I've got a lot to learn. Let's face it. And by no means am I a brilliant rugby player. I have good potential because I've got the strength and I've got skills that are transferable from other sports I've done. But I don't know the rules and I can't throw and catch. So, I mean, that's 2 really important things.
Rugby too, not just...
Yeah. I like the contact bit. That's the bit I like.
Oh my God.
I'll run at somebody and I don't mind people running at me. But when you're throwing me the ball, I get really flustered and I feel really stressed about catching it. I'm like, oh my God. And the stress I create myself makes me drop the ball. But it all comes with experience, right? So having said this, I'm 36. 3 months ago, I joined a rugby team. And last weekend, I played at the Rugby Sevens tournament in Dubai. I mean, played. I did my best. I actually got some lovely messages from the girls on the team saying that I did like some really good carries and some good passes and some good things. I also got a few messages from the coach saying that I did some things wrong.
But see, not afraid to try.
No, exactly. And it hasn't put me off. I know that I'm not going to be the greatest rugby player. And that's okay because like you said, you've tried all these things and you're realising what works for you. And we've spoken about taking things to the extreme. I haven't joined the rugby team to become the greatest rugby player. I've joined the rugby team for a bit of a social outing during the week, a bit more cardio fitness. I love doing something and learning something new. So I could go back to the gym and do weight training, like bodybuilding style training. I think I'd be bored unless I took it to the extreme I have before. Because once you've gone there, how do you dial it back?
Well, that's what I'm kind of working on at the minute, to be totally honest, because I'm doing a bit more running than I have, well, since the Ironman, basically, and trying to build that back in.
Yeah.
Because I do enjoy that side of things. Nothing. 5K, that's me.
So we were talking about your journey taking everything to the extreme, with the Ironman being such an extreme, intense, short period of time. Taking your photo shoots to an extreme for a physical aesthetic. And then with my journey, I think everything I've done, I've taken to the extreme. I still do the same thing now with work, actually. Everything I do with work, like I have been through a difficult time personally, and I was going through some healing, some therapy and some hard things. And I was journaling and trying to help myself emotionally cope with something. And I turned that journaling into a book, and then I published the book. So talking about taking things to the extreme, by the way, the link to the book is in the description. The book talks about mental strength. So we're talking about strength and physical strength here, but the book is more about the mental side of things. Anyway, we're also mentioning about taking everything to the extreme, but you're talking now about how you're going for runs and not taking your running too far. You just go for a nice 5K once, twice a week, and that's enough for you personally. And I'm also trying to do the same with my own training, as in I'm trying to just go and train for myself and enjoy it for what it is without needing to track what's my body weight, because I competed in body weight sports. So to compete in mixed martial arts, MMA, Muay Thai, you have to weigh a certain number, be weighed in by the officials, and then you can compete. Strongman, you have to weigh in at a certain weight. So I have obsessively tracked my body weight every day for 10 years. And trying to pull away from that is a journey in itself. Obsessively tracking what you eat, because that impacts your body weight. Trying to recover from training and fuel, but not overdo it and not gain too much weight. Going through a bulking season and trying to grow more muscle, and then trying to pull it back ready for the next competition. So there's a whole lot of data tracking here, and you use the Oura Ring. Tell us about that.
So we're just going back to the cardio side of things. I do track a lot is my menstrual cycle. And I did get the Oura Ring last year because I was trying to track my temperature, which you can do with a thermometer, but I found that quite annoying in the mornings. So this...
and just for the audience, why were you trying to track your temperature?
So because of my... delays in ovulation, and therefore my delays in my period, I wanted to know if I was ovulating. I wanted to know, kind of as a form of birth control, I wanted to know where I was in my cycle, and the temperature shift that you have if you are naturally cycling and you're not on any hormonal birth control, you will see a shift in your temperature after you ovulate. It gets a little bit higher, and there's an increase in our metabolic rate, and you can check that using a thermometer. And that was just a little bit of a faff in the morning. So you had to do it like really still, and it had to be the first thing you did before you had water, before you moved. So a couple of my clients had actually said about the Oura Ring, and I didn't really believe that would take my basal body temperature as opposed to the, oral thermometer. But I've had it for a year, and even with me and my delays in ovulation that I have, where my cycles can go quite long sometimes if I'm stressed. It knows, it can tell from my temperature whether or not I've ovulated. And
can you feel the temperature in yourself?
Not that I know of.
So I'm quite, whether it's because I'm so in tune with my body,
yeah.
I'm not saying you're not, or whether it's because it's quite extreme for me, I can tell. And nothing will be different, and I'll be really hot. I'm really flustered, whether that's in the gym coaching, whether that's at home with my housemate, and she'll say, you must be in that time of your cycle. Yeah. I can just feel these things quite significantly.
I think I can now, but because I've been on the pill for 10 years, then I had, as we said earlier, I had the copper coil, I had the implant, and then I wasn't getting my periods. I didn't really know what to look out for. They say about, is it Mittelschmerz, which is a German word for when you actually feel ovulation happening, which is like the pain that you get. I really, honestly, in the last cycle, think I noticed that for the first time. So I'm such a newbie to this sort of stuff, I suppose. But
and how old are you?
33.
33, and there's no shame in this at all, but 33 and having only just felt that for the first time and being in tune enough with your body to know that that's probably what you were feeling.
Yeah.
And now starting to notice the changes in your body temperature without looking at a data-driven gadget to tell you.
So, like, you know, I can feel that I'm potentially a little bit warmer on the days just before I get my period. I've heard some women say that in their whole luteal phase, they're warmer at night, you know, like I'm sort of noticing that maybe more just before my period. If your mood, obviously, I mean, I'm a bit different. I feel like ovulation, I feel like it's really taxing on my body. I feel like I need almost more rest during that time. Whereas the couple of days before my period, I'm a demon in the gym.
Are you?
Yeah, totally the opposite.
Wow, we are so the opposite. Yeah.
First day of my period, demon.
Oh, I'm amazing on the first day.
Okay. Yeah.
The second day, not so much.
No,
Yeah.
Those couple of days before and on the first day, I'm great.
Really interesting. Okay, that's great. So you're using the Oura Ring not to track necessarily sleep, steps, or anything like that. You're using it just to track your temperature, whether you ovulate, and where you are in your menstrual cycle.
Yeah. I was sort of cautious when this came out because of my clients, and kind of like, you know, if they see that they've had a bad sleep and they suddenly go, oh, I can't go to the gym today. That was my concern, because I'm almost like exactly how you do things. You've got to see how you feel without this dictating your day. For me, it's I don't take the other stuff that seriously. It's more for the hormonal side of things.
I have had clients come to me with these gadgets and these devices, and I've tried them as well. I've tried a Fitbit and a Whoop and these other things. And it can become really obsessive. Tracking your steps, tracking the hours sleep, looking at the graph at the quality of sleep. How many times did you wake up in the night? I'll say, how did you sleep last night? And they'll go, oh, hold on. And they'll get their phone out. And I'm like, put your phone away. How did you sleep last night? Just think about it yourself without something having to tell you the answer. Did you move enough yesterday? Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't want to know how many steps you did. Were you in the office for 12 hours? Did you go out for a walk in the evening? Did you go to the gym? Did you do any cardio? Did you do any lifting? Like, use your own data.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily dislike these gadgets. I think they have a time and a place and a purpose. I think they can be quite a good educational tool for people learning about their body. Yeah. But I think when people start relying on them to answer real basic questions, that becomes concerning to me.
And I think if you're the type of person that can get bogged down in numbers, or they can really affect your day, then maybe that isn't the best tool for you. For me, I literally use it as data. So I said earlier, like I have a tracker, and I have in the past sort of got, oh, I didn't do enough steps this week. But now I'm so much more removed from that.
So now you take that and you say, oh, I didn't do enough steps this week. What can I change next week to make sure I implement extra 5 minutes of walking per day? Yeah. That is it. End of the data.
Yeah.
We don't need to be like self-sabotaging because you didn't do enough steps, or walking around in circles in the room because you haven't closed a ring on an Apple Watch, or being
like, you know, seeing the scale in the morning and that affecting your day. I also think that I've done that so much in the past that now, because I've done it so much, I kind of can look at it and go, it doesn't affect me. I'm almost like numb to that now. But I've had a lot of experience doing it. And again, that's just trying something and realizing whether it works for me or not. I am the type, I'm lucky. I don't have an emotional attachment to, oh, I didn't train X number of times this week. It doesn't really get me down. I can understand though that for a lot of women, a lot of people, that can really, you know, stress them out.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate in that sense. So yeah.
But you say you're fortunate in that sense, or has it been the journey and the process you've been through has achieved you to reach the point where it doesn't stress you out anymore?
Yeah.
Perhaps 5 years ago that would have stressed you out.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're fortunate to not get stressed out by it because you used to. It's that you've pushed past that part. You've been self-aware enough to know that it's stressing you out, and you've managed to learn how to handle that differently.
Exposed to all those different things and gone, okay, if you do miss a training session this week, what's the worst that can happen? You realise after missing so many that actually it's going to be okay. Or you know.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is the point of coaching as well, is that some of my clients, they'll be like, oh, I didn't check in with you at the weekend because I had such a bad week.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, well, they're the weeks that are the most important to check in, because they're the weeks where you want to say, okay, now let me do my coaching job.
Yeah.
Why did you have such a bad week? Why did you not eat the food that was planned? Why did you not do the meal prep? Why did you not go to the gym? Whatever, it might not be all of these things. It might be one or two. Why did you not hit the steps? Why did you not do whatever? Right, let's coach you. Let's figure out how we can make that better next week. How can we change it? What small micro habits can we implement to help make next week better than this week? Not, oh, it was rubbish, and because I didn't perform to the most perfect standard, I'm just not going to bother talking to you. That is the role of a coach. And that is what we both do. Taking our years and years and years of experience and the experience we've had in different sports, putting ourselves through these different experiences, which are priceless. The lessons you learn in these experiences are priceless. And now being able to coach other women, and I do coach men as well, because I think the sleep, the weight training, and they have hormonal fluctuations. It's different, but they have their own system, and food, body dysmorphia, and eating habits. It's all important for men and women. Obviously, to coach women, I do think you need a good understanding of the menstrual cycle, the symptoms, the hormonal system, and things like that. My last question to you is, what's the biggest myth you want women to stop believing about being healthy?
So weight training is often tied to typically men are more so in the weight room, and being bulky. And we're kind of proof here that you're not necessarily going to suddenly become bulky. I think women, especially when they're brand new to this sort of world, they suddenly think as if they lift up, heavier than 4 kg on the shoulder press, that they're going to suddenly have delts that
burst.
Yeah. It doesn't work like that. People that are bulky have been trying very, very hard to be bulky
for a long time.
Yeah. And
somebody said it to me recently, actually, and I said, please don't insult me. And it's taken me years to develop the confidence to be able to say that.
Yeah.
And I do think it's an insult, because you're insulting the fact that I've been doing this for 10 years. And it's taken me 10 years of being so precise with all these data and all this stats, and so obsessive about everything. My food, not missing a gram of protein for years, not missing a training session or a supplement. And you think you can come to the gym and lift a 5 kg dumbbell twice a week and get bulky. Guys, no.
We're trying to get bulky, but
women don't build muscle that fast that you're going to get bulky. However, building muscle is going to help women.
Oh gosh, in so many ways.
I mean, the list is endless, isn't it?
Yeah. I like that though. Now more and more women are that I work with in those first calls that I have with clients, they are thinking, they're typically women in their 30s, 40s. I mean, I've just trained a lady who's 55, and she weight trained, but she'd never really had a sort of consistent program that she'd stuck with. But they're thinking about the menopause. They're thinking about after the menopause and staying strong for longer.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. They're thinking about how these, how hormonal birth control can maybe affect them, and coming off it, and how they can get to know their cycles.
And learning about their body.
Yeah. And how they are without that.
I think there's a whole generational thing as well. I think our generation really are going through this, like our generation, the one before and maybe the one after, like this group of us we were the ones that were kind of just thrown on it with lack of education and knowledge and self-awareness. Yeah. And then we've all hit this phase of our life and gone, 33 and I haven't felt that, or I'm 36 and I haven't.
And I really kind of only got into that because I was working in a gym with a couple of other women that were sort of like, do you not know what it's like when you have a natural cycle? And I had no idea. And it was only like speaking openly about that conversation, which I think is also really important, that I was curious and I wanted to learn more. And then obviously it got into my 30s, and then there was the talk of the menopause, and I love that more and more women are talking about that openly, and it's not this taboo subject. I remember listening to your podcast the other day with Kate, and she was saying about the menopause is kind of like hushed no, we should be talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you haven't seen those other conversations, please pop to my channel, subscribe to the channel first of all, and then you'll see other conversations where I am talking about periods, menstruation, menopause, the choice or lack of choice to have children, and lots of other female related issues around strength training, female hormonal health and mental health. These are the main topics focused on in my podcast. If you've enjoyed listening to the video, please give it a like. And if you think you have a friend or a family member, male or female, who is entering into a challenge like an Ironman or a competition or a strongman competition or anything of this type, maybe just listening to this conversation might make them a little bit more self-aware and make them question their why. There isn't really a right and wrong answer to this. It's more about the self-awareness of why. That helps with the motivation. That helps with the discipline. That helps keep you on track and achieve your goal and your target. But also I think this conversation will make them aware of then what.
Yeah.
We've both spoken about the after of your Ironman, the rebound of the eating and the hunger cues that get a little bit out of sync. Really important points that I think lots of other people can benefit from.
Yeah, I think also, it's women think that the more they do exercise-wise, the better they're going to look, they're going to feel. I challenge that a little bit sometimes. Sometimes just stripping it back a little bit can be helpful too.
Absolutely.
Totally dependent on the person. But yeah, my Ironman story is a pretty good example. Your story obviously too. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we can take them to the extreme and it's detrimental not only physically, but hormonally. And not only physically and hormonally, and I mean physically as in the more you push doesn't always mean the more you can lift or the faster you can run or the whatever. It can also impact your hormonal system, your hunger cues. It can also start to impact your mood, your sleep cycle, and your mental health, to be honest. And so more is not always better, as I've written up there. Less is more, and do some subtracting of your daily structure and your routine before you start adding in other things. And I think we'll wrap it up there. So thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with a friend. See you in the next one.